You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here with another great podcast. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube. To see the video version of this broadcast, you can go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit the bell notification button, ding, so you get all those wonderful notifications. Refer the show to your friends, neighbors, relatives. Thanks to all the wonderful people who've been giving the 5-star recommends. We picked up another one today. I believe it was from our blue-collar author. You want to check out his book. But thanks to everyone who does those. So if you get a chance, recommend the show and all that good stuff. Today we have a very intelligent, brilliant gentleman. As always, all of our guests are always brilliant on the show. I think you'll like him. His name is Dan Silverberg. Dan is the evolutionary entrepreneur and CEO and founder of
1Insight2Thrive,
an evolutionary global education academy with courses serving people from all over the world to emerge into who they truly are. After 40 years in businesses as CEO and having run businesses from 7 to 400 million dollars, Dan is educated and committed to training the transformational leaders moving forward. Dan is a transformational teacher, leader, speaker, and educator, coach, visionary. He's also the creator of Personal Power Masterclass 2020, a transformational course of personal empowerment, influence, and persuasion. Dan's mission is to democratize and scale knowledge around the world to the advantage of others, creating a world where everyone can thrive. As a lifelong learner and more than 40 years of personal development and men's work, Dan creates this as the source of his own growth, success, impact, and development. So welcome to the show, Dan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Awesome sauce. So give us the .coms where people can take a look at your website on the interwebs.
Yeah, so you can do bit.ly/1Insight2Thrive, or you can reach out to me directly at dan@1Insight2Thrive.com.
Awesome.
And either way, I'd love to get in touch with you.
That sounds great. So check it out, guys. There'll be a link on the Chris Voss Show and in the YouTube video description to click on the link and check it out. So can you share a quick intro about you and your background for us?
Sure, I'd love to do that. So as you said, I have done 40 years of business and have a fair amount of mastery. I ran businesses across multiple industries, the apparel industry, technology industry with Oracle and EDS, did merger and acquisition activity, the personal care industry, and nutritional supplements and better for you products. I created the first all-natural, no artificial sweetened beverage in the US and opened Walmart and every major grocery store within 6 months. Had the first organic flavored sweetened water in the market. So a lot of depth in terms of products and channels and go-to-market ideas and that sort of thing. When I look at my genius and what I really want to do with others is to have them step into theirs. It's sort of a threefold stool. So one is the mastery of business all the way to the CEO level. Mm-hmm. The other is I have a master's degree in transformational leadership and coaching with a very solid foundation in social emotional intelligence, psychology, neuroscience, humanism, existentialism, and a variety of things. So I think those are skills sorely needed in business today. And lastly, I've done 40 years of personal development and men's work, and currently am helping to lead a group out of Norway in the masculine archetypes. So when I put those three areas together, that's where I think I have something that not everybody in the world has, and that's the genius I want to deliver at this stage of my career, which is more to legacy. and give back. So I've had enormous opportunities and experiences, and I think others deserve those same things. So really to get them the skills and insights and vision to create those dreams for themselves.
Awesome sauce. That sounds like some pretty interesting stuff. Making the first, what you said it was the first sweetener?
It was the first all natural, no artificial sweetened flavored water.
Wow.
And it was actually from my perfume and apparel background that I created this amazing bottle. And Walmart was my first customer.
Wow.
And an interesting story that when I decided to go to Walmart, people in the industry said that would be the worst thing you could do, because if Walmart buys it, nobody else will buy from you. Except I did the research. So that's what we call consensus thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Walmart, by the way, controls over 40% of the beverage market in the US. So when Walmart has something, everybody has to have it to compete. And that's how I opened every major grocery store and paid no slotting allowances, which is in the beverage aisle, absolutely unheard of. And was contacted by Coke, Pepsi, and Nestle within 6 months. Who are you? We've never heard of you, right? And how did you do what you did? And my question was, how could you not have done what I did given the length of time you're in the business? And so there's this real opportunity to think differently, to think more as a visionary, and to get yourself outside of the groupthink and the consensus.
Awesome sauce. So you guys are doing this amazing thing with your company. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yep. So 1Insight2Thrive was something that came for me, that in doing my own work, that emerging to become who I could become, every time I could get an insight, I could make a different choice. I could do something different. I could put a toe in the water. I could experiment. And that's how I got to mastery. Is I kept experimenting. I kept living my life as an adventure. Life is about expansion. And for a lot of us, we live more in fear and anxiety and, gee, what happens if I make a mistake? And so one of my heroes, Buckminster Fuller, said, the more mistakes I make, the smarter I get. And so I took that. So that was an insight. And what that allowed me to do was take more risk, right? And that's how I got some great assignments, because I was willing to take the risk. So
the more mistakes you make, the more you're like, well, we know that doesn't work.
Yeah. But also you find out what does work. And if you do more of what works quickly and get out of more of what doesn't quickly, better outcomes can show up.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And why are you doing this now?
Well, I'm doing it now because I'm 70 years old.
You're looking good. You don't look 70, man. You look like 40.
Okay, so thank you. There's two kinds of people in the world, Chris. There's those who dominate and those who are dominated, right? And there's those who give headaches and there's those who get them. I think you can probably tell from my warrior which ones I am.
There we
right?
go.
And then the other thing about emerging to your next best version of yourself is your own respect. So what addictions do you have? Are food your addictions? Is porn your addiction? Is looking at your phone every 7 minutes your addiction? And so we actually get to understand our yearnings. And when we get to our yearnings and we fulfill those, the addictions drop away. So I eat really well. I take care of myself. I exercise. I am my own, best influencer. So I like working with people so that they can get these same kind of outcomes.
Boy, it sure sounds like you got it together, Dan. I need to go to your seminar here. So you've said in the past these are the greatest times in history. Let's talk a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Yep. So for me, I've always thought if I was going to live in another time, the time I'd want to live in would have been the Italian Renaissance. This was the time of Michelangelo. This was the time of the great painters. This was the time of art and expression and just high creativity. And so, COVID has brought a unique perspective for us. So I meet with a lot of people, and I see those people that are in fear, that are anxious, that are hunkered down, that are scared. And then I see a group of us that think we're at another renaissance. So from an archetypal perspective, we're in this space called liminal space. Liminal space is the space between the old, which we see, I don't want to say crumbling, but it's dissolving. And the old is no longer sustainable. Governments can't sustain, suppression of people can't sustain, locking people up can't sustain. Religion, we've seen, the immorality of that. And so our traditional institutions are faltering. And what I believe is happening with COVID is we all now have time for ourselves. This is time to be introspective. This is time to wonder, what am I really, who am I? What am I here for? What are my gifts? What do I want to bring into the world? And so the whole training and the impetus behind this is your old skills are commodities. Your old skills will allow Google to take over. AI and Google can take your old skills. So as we move forward, this is the greatest time because we're at the beginning. We have a death to a rebirth. This happens all of the time in Joseph Campbell, in Star Wars, in Harry Potter, in Tolkien, in The Hobbit, that there is this death before the rebirth. And I think if we position ourselves with that, and we look at ourselves as the new visionaries, as the new authors, as the new creators of the world, then we're going to move to much more from an industrial revolution to a planetary evolution. We are all interrelated. Dominator culture is not going to continue to survive. It's much more about how we work together. And so there's a whole group of skills that I believe I've learned and have deployed in putting together highly effective teams that will give my students opportunities to thrive, to excel, to bring this newness to their own businesses, if they're entrepreneurs in companies. So whatever it is that they're up to, it's a window of opportunity to go for it.
Mm-hmm. And
right?
And you bring up a good point. We've talked about this on the Chris Voss show, that this is a great moment to take and reinvent yourself, to become something new, to find out more about yourself. From the beginning of the quarantine, I was encouraging people, don't use this time to watch Netflix and, sit on the couch and eat and eat your feelings. This is a great time to learn new skills, to grow, to start a business, to become an entrepreneur, find what you love, educate yourself. Like you've said, a lot of inspiring things there. And so this is a great time for it. And COVID-19 has really exposed the cracks in our society, the cracks in patterns, like you mentioned, in our paradigms, in our world and stuff that wasn't really working before is now just really, really broken. But this is a time of uncertainty, and you believe people can thrive in times like these.
I do. So one of the questions that I ask my students is, you're at the Grand Canyon and you're right at the edge looking down. What's your biggest fear?
Falling.
Right. That's what 98% of people will say. The biggest fear, you could fly. Which takes us,
Wow.
right? What would happen if you actually thought you could fly? That you could become the greatest version of yourself. So in the movie Avatar, James Cameron, right? He's got the birds, the dragons, whatever, and the young man has to decide, does he get on or doesn't he? Does he hold on or jump off, right? Well, isn't that what we're all facing in life? But he gets on, and he gets to new worlds, and he gets to new experiences, and he gets new self-confidence, and all of a sudden, he's got a different perspective. And that's really what we're here to do. So we're born to struggle, but life is born to expand. And if we're in our comfort zone and we're going to sit doing the same old thing every day, that's not what we're here for. So let me give you a quick little view of how this works. If you think the same thing every day, you'll make the same choices every day. If you make the same choices every day, you'll have the same behaviors. If you have the same behaviors, guess what? You have the same experiences. If you have the same experiences, you have the same emotions, then you have the same memories. You are living in your past. Our goal is to live present, right? Our goal is to live with aliveness. Our goal is to live play. Our goal is to live with intention, not reactively. So this is the world that I've been able to discover through all of my work and my experience. I think I can translate this to others to have these similar kinds of outcomes.
That's awesome. So your company has the latest program that you guys are doing. It's called Personal Power Masterclass 2020. Who is the class for?
So what I'm hoping is that the class is for, if we look at Maslow and we look at his triangle, he talks about people that are self-actualized. These are people who are influential. These are people who are striving, right? These are people who can make a difference. But Maslow never got to finish what he was really after, was having man be self-accepting. So I want to take guys and girls, I want to take these transformational leaders. These are people that are fast-tracked in corporations. These are evolutionary entrepreneurs. These are mission-based businesses where people see a world different than what's currently out there. And what they're looking to do actually is to step into their greatness so that they become more influential, that they become more persuasive, that they get beyond their limiting beliefs, that the things that currently hold them back are illusions, right? Mm-hmm. So we work with you to go through in depth over a 12-week period, 48 different spheres of influence.
Wow.
And now what happens out of that, you get a toolkit. So if all you have is a hammer, right, everything's a nail, mm-hmm. You now have a toolkit. So we know from the Harvard Business Review, 92% of effectiveness of high-performing executives or entrepreneurs is social emotional intelligence. Without that, people aren't necessarily going to want to follow. They're not going to feel seen and felt and know they matter. So a lot of the underpinning of this is to bring those capabilities. If you have them now, great, we'll enhance them. And it's a very personalized program. So you will have ups and downs of skill set based on these 48 spheres. We want to spend time with you on the ones to build. If you've already got these, we'll take you to another level on those as well. But it's personalized and customized so that you come out your greatest version of yourself.
Awesome sauce. That sounds exciting as heck. So during a week experience of the program, what it might look like with further, define what the customer will experience.
Yeah. So it's important to me that we're not teaching you theory. We're teaching you theory to apply to your lives. So when we tell you what your birth order is that what happened for you and your family? If it did, how did it impact you? What questions might you have about that? How is that both what thrusts you forward? What is it maybe that holds you back? Chris, stop talking. Chris, go to your room. Chris, take a time out. Chris, why can't you be like your brother? Chris, why can't you? Why can't you? Why can't you? And you're supposed to be this fully formed, beautiful guy who thinks that he's got the world by the tail, except that you actually think you're not good enough, you're not worthy, and you play small to fit the role that was downloaded in you, right? That you had no say in. So part of the week is this 2-hour master class where no more than 25 people, and we actually work with you in this class. We pair you up so that you have a partner for accountability. We have literature that you'll review through a week. There will be weekly assignments. You'll have worksheets to keep track of and make accountability. And then we'll also have what we call power circles. And during that week, there'll be a working environment. And if you want to come and you want to ask questions, get more coaching, you want to talk with others in the group. So in a way, it's sort of a power circle and a mastermind combined.
Mm-hmm.
So this is who it's for. It's for people who are dynamic already and know that there's things missing that if they could fill in will absolutely catapult them.
Mm-hmm. And so you're going to be holding this live with them,
Yep.
and then they'll have recorded access, so they can always keep coming back to it,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, re-dipping their foot back in. Okay, what were the notes again? Because I do that a lot with sometimes courses that I take where I have to go back and just go back to the basics and go, okay, let's get back to what that was about. And so it sounds pretty exciting. People are unable to unlock their power and influence in the world, and this is going to be pretty interesting that you've got going on. The 48 skills thing is pretty interesting over a 12-week program, because that's a lot of skills. And, you know, people have so many issues today, like you talk about. They're not present. You know, I remember struggling with that a few years ago, where I just didn't feel like I was even aware of anything in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I had so much muck going on in my head with, you know, thinking about all the silly stuff that doesn't even matter. You know, like you mentioned earlier, I was, you know, thinking about the past, you know, and a lot of Eckhart Tolle stuff with the power of now, where I was, you know, not in the present. And I would just fight to be like, I don't feel like I'm accomplishing stuff, because you get locked in this thing. And like you say, if you do the same thing or think the same thing, you get the same results. So you've got to change it up and redirect your life and stuff. So it sounds pretty amazing. Anything more we need to know about what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, so let me just give you the idea of what a first week might look like. So one of the things we know is that so when you're first born, you are not born with a fully formed brain at this point. You're actually a ball of energy. And when you come into the world, you are in sensing mode. So if mom is stressed, if mom's nervous system is on fire, if there's drugs in the family, if there's a lot of yelling, all of that gets picked up and downloaded into us. Up until about the age of 7, your brain is in formation. And so family, school, friends, all these different things get downloaded. So what's your view of money? Money's dirty. God's given us what we're supposed to have, right? Dad's allowed to be angry. You're not allowed to be angry. So there's all these things get downloaded. This is childhood formation. What most of us don't do is by the time we're 14, 15, 16, our brains are doing pretty well. By 21 to 23, they're fully formed. How many of you are willing to divorce your parents? How many of you are willing to say, these were the beliefs I was given? So children do strategies based on the environment they're in that are they're very clever. They're very good for survival, right? They're adaptive. In adulthood, they could be maladaptive. And so we actually take this time for you to take a look and bring to consciousness the family rules, myths, and beliefs. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And now we can see which ones we want and which ones don't serve us anymore. Mm-hmm. One of the things we ask in the first week is, what's your relationship to power? When I say the word, you go, ooh, you know, oh, those are bad people. Those are dominators. Those are whatever. You know, oh, I love powerful people. I think I'm powerful. I don't know, but we're going to go through that experience and see what limiting beliefs there are about power. Mm-hmm. One of the things we're going to do is have you pick a person that you're going to study for the 12 weeks. So is Nelson Mandela, is MLK, is Jack Kennedy, is it Abraham Lincoln, is it Bucky Fuller, is it Jean-Paul Sartre, whoever it is. Because what we want you to see is these are normal people who, when facing adversities, were able to thrive. They had grit, they had perseverance, they created values, they created their own principles. So this now gives you a way of actually seeing yourself in the arena with them. So I did this when I was like in the 9th grade, and my guy that I studied was Teddy Roosevelt. And so man in the arena versus the spectator critic. was so powerful for me when I was 15 years old. And so that's what a week is going to look like. And then what we're going to do is at the end of it, we're going to give you some literature to study, and we're going to give you some worksheets to actually map out those rules, myths, and beliefs. So did you have an absent father? Did you have mother wound? Were you in a family that got divorced early? Where were you? Because this really bringing to consciousness this allows you, once you see the pattern, if it's disempowering you, it evaporates. It moves away, because basically the things that hold us back is what they want to be seen. And when they're seen and known, they're good.
Is it because they're asking us for us to resolve them?
So for me, one of the things that I do with my group in Norway is we go to the graveyard. And who do you think you see there? It's not your mom and dad. You go to actually excavate and bring back your inner child. This is the innocence that you buried in order to survive. Yeah?
Yeah.
And so this was really the whole Harry Potter idea with Voldemort and going down into the thing and the snake and the dragons and what is it about you that not only do you want people not to know, but it's so horrific in your own mind, you don't even want to admit it to yourself. When that gets known and resolved and accepted, that's the insight to thrive. That's one of them. Yeah. So this is a lot of what we do. It's hard work. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's for those who want to risk to have the greatest life possible.
And this is a time of chaos, but this is the most important time to resolve these issues and move forward and create a new life. Because like you say, we're in this juxtaposition of where we're going into closing out an old way and people having to kind of relearn new skills and everything else. And, I heard a long time ago that that's a lot of what we spend in our life doing is trying to resolve with the relationships and everything else, our childhood experiences. Maybe our parents didn't get along, and we get into relationships with people that are based around the same sort of brokenness, and then we're still trying to fix those things, and a lot of it's just what we're carrying inside.
Exactly. And so one of the questions in one of the weeks that we work on is, are you living a life of intention, or are you living your life in reactivity? So when you wake up in the morning, is it very clear what you're going to get accomplished for the day? Are you going to have a powerful day, or are you just going to wait for stuff to happen? And then when it happens, it's drama, right? So, and then we go and we work on things like the drama triangle. So we all know people that we work with or friends, and they have the same problem with the same people for months, because they're afraid to actually be honest. So we work with you on how to have difficult and honest conversations, because it's in your honest conversation that you get to be authentic, right? So for men particularly, you have two ways you can die. So if you're on your deathbed, if you're inauthentic and you know that you didn't fulfill what you're here to do, you'll die in terror. If you've brought your gifts to the world, if you've been in service something higher than yourself, if you know who you are and you contributed, you'll be ready.
Yeah.
Right? So it's actually up to each person. What do you want?
Yeah, being authentic is very important. You talk about this on your website, and to tell truth, your highest vision. Do you want to talk about sabotage? This is one of the things you're going to deal with, if people that are maybe sabotaging themselves.
Sure. So sabotaging actually ends up in self-fulfilling prophecies. So I know that if my boss asks me to do something and I know I'm not really capable of it, And so I walk around and I tell myself, and I'll even tell some of my peers, I'm really worried that so-and-so wants this for me, and I don't think ultimately I can do it. And sure enough, because I get fearful, I actually end up doing a poor job or less than what was expected. I was afraid to ask, right? Asking's a really big deal. Hey, Mr. Boss, I've got this thing from you. I want to make sure that it's done right. I'm unclear about A, B, and C. But if I ask him that, the self-fulfilling prophecy is he'll think I'm stupid. So what I'll do is I'll do the project half-assed. Then it comes around the circle, and sure enough, my boss says, Dan, this is like really average. What the heck? I thought, this is what I wanted. And so what happens out of that then is I created the thing so my boss could see that I was ineffective. And now now I'm validated about it. So the next time I'll do the same thing over and over and over, right? So the way we self-sabotage is, I'm not good enough. If you talk to people that are in positions of power, ask how many of them have ever felt they've been an imposter.
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Right? I got this promotion. This is bullshit. I have no idea who am I to be doing this? Yeah? No, we're here to learn. So one of the things about that is now missing in our education, we don't have a high enough bar for our kids. We don't set a standard high enough that they're capable. So if you work with a child and you just put some scaffolding in place, not the whole house, a little bit of scaffolding, those kids can do physics. And Bucky Fuller, one of my heroes, was teaching his daughter physics when she was 7 years old.
Wow.
Because he believed she could do it. Yeah. So we go through a lot of these examples and lots of heroes of these different categories that give you these opportunities, I think. So the self-sabotage is, I'm not good enough and I don't know how to do it. You're more than worthy. And if you know how to ask for help, you can do far more than you're willing.
Yeah. And this is the perfect time to sit down and reanalyze, do an inventory of where you're at in life, and then to figure out, what you need to work on. It's a great time. The quarantine was a great time for quiet time to sit down and go, what am I doing? How am I doing it? That's one of the things we did. One of the things I encourage you to do on the podcast. I was telling people, use this time wisely. I had to go through a lot of this same sort of crisis in 2008, 2009 during the recession back then. And there's ways to deal with this and get through it and build a better person and come out of it the other side, like you say, powerful and present and resolving a lot of the issues that you've been carrying around. And people carry around their baggage like all their life, right?
Yeah, and you know something, it's scary and it's not easy to do alone. And these containers that we create are really a group of allies. There's real security there. There's real energy there. There's commitment and dedication. People don't let you fall off the wayside, right? And that's really what we all need. So, one of the big things for guys today. Are you tired of living the lie yet? Yeah. What's the lie? Well, the lie is I have it handled. The lie is I don't have emotion. The lie is that I'm stoic. The lie is I have my big boy pants on. The lie is, so this man box that we're in is going to blow up in this new world. Because if we look at what's going on with divorce, if we look at the megaphone that women are having now, what we're actually seeing is role reversal. We're seeing women become warriors and we're seeing men become more the lovers. To be holistic, to be healthy, to be functioning, men need to be more in their feminine and women need to be more in their masculine. And we're not supposed to be the same. We're supposed to be equal, but we're not the same. So if you aren't connected, see, the lie is you're not supposed to be. Now you've got kids and a wife and a family who's going, where are you? You're not connected here. If you're not connected here, you're not needed.
Mm.
Men are disposable.
Wow.
In our culture, men are disposable. We have two ways. We're either the ATM machine to be abundant, bring a lot of money home, or we go to war to die. That's our role. Women have a very different role. Women can be a stay-at-home mom. Women can have a hybrid. They can be a caretaker to children and have a part-time. And women can actually become empowered full-time out in the world. Men don't have that option in the current model, right? So we have work to do as men. So how many women have heard a man say, I don't want to talk about it? How many men or women have, what is it I need to say to get you to react? So what's your style with your partner? Is it high anger and a loud voice? Is it I go to silence? Do I walk away and I hope it'll go away and come back later? These are not great skills to connection. This is not great social emotional intelligence. So for us, what we want now is to become more authentic. We need to be more in our feelings. We don't need you as our wives to save us. But for a woman, the worst thing that can happen for a man is to fall off the white horse. So the whole model for us as men is a mess.
Yeah.
This is a chance to rewrite that script. This is a chance to be whole. This is a chance to be complete. This is a chance for us. So Carl Rogers, who's another one of my heroes, basically said that what we're all looking for is to be accurately seen in the here and now with positive regard, consistently and unconditionally. Can you love your kids unconditionally? Can you get the distinction, right, between bad behavior and I'm bad? So men grow up in shame, right? Ask them what their fathers were like. Ask them what their grandfathers were like. Most of them were depressed, angry, unemotional, right? Stoic. That's the world they grew up in. We have that DNA in us.
Yeah.
This is a time for us to chart a new path. And a lot of the skills that we teach will get you more in touch, again, who you truly are and how you can emerge moment by moment.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I mean, a lot of fathers disconnected. You and I probably grew up in the age where, we were taught men don't cry. We're cut off emotionally. We just power on and carry the the man on the white horse, like you said. And yeah, men are having a hard time figuring out what manhood is again, and the balance and how do we keep from being the bull of the china shop, where we're just upsetting everybody and everything. And yeah, a lot of fathers really struggle to be connected with their children, and you get so busy. Like I've had friends that they've gotten divorced that they're so focused on making money and bringing home the paycheck and trying to do that, and then tune out when they come home, that they miss it all, and they don't understand that there has to be that a balance, and even as men we tend to hold everything in. We just go, we'll just keep on trucking, and I even get chided by that with women in my life where they're just like, you just put it behind you and you just keep, just making your mess. And so, yeah, it's really important people learn these things. I like the idea of the coaching of what you guys are doing and having the group think there, because, and people advise you and watch you and help you, because a lot of people don't realize their scotomas or their blind spots. They don't, you don't see them. You don't see outside of your own box a lot of times. And so it really helps to have people give you advice and to coach you, because they can go, hey, that thing you do. And you're like, what thing did I do? I didn't know I did that thing. And like, no, you did that thing. And then you go, oh, well, I had no idea. And so they help you coach through those things. And a lot of people's lives are like that. They've been living with their blind spot for so long, or their scotoma, where where they don't even recognize it anymore. And once you have somebody point that out to you or help you in group settings like this, you can help resolve your issues.
Yeah, thanks. Well, and it's one of the great things is that if I'm working with you and there's 7 other people, even though I'm working specifically with you, everybody's relating to their own life, their own story, and they're all doing their work. So each person who's contributing really contributes to the entire group.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're talking about really are false selves. So what are the masks that you wear? And so we all have a public persona, we have a private persona, and then we have that persona we don't even want to admit to ourselves, right? So I, in my work, I actually grew up at the knee of an expert on how to deflect, obfuscate, and be defensive.
Mm-hmm.
I have a PhD in it. I actually have more than a PhD in it. I can do it at such a high level. And so in my schoolwork, my assignment for a year, because I'm what they call a smart rat, so I don't give up easy. So for a year, everyone in my school was allowed to say whatever they wanted to say to me, and I couldn't defend any of it.
Wow.
Not a thing. And then find the kernel of truth in what was said, and then get to the humor of it. Now, I think I'm a quick study. 7 months before I could even start to think what they were saying was humorous. Yeah? But what's interesting out of it is the things that you think you're most hiding are the things that are most obvious to everyone else out there. Yeah?
You can put that on a shirt. That's a great saying.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So, well, I'll give you an example. So, a man is 27 years old and he goes to his mom and he says, "Mom, I'm gay." And you know what the mom says?
I've known it the whole time, right?
Yeah, I've just been waiting for you to tell me because I knew when you were 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these things, so what mask are you wearing? Are you wearing the athlete's mask? Are you wearing the know-it-all mask? Are you wearing the I have it all under control mask? All of that stuff. One of the things that I think is a superior skill is my ability to hear what you're saying, but more importantly, to hear what you're not saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I go to dig. And the other thing is that I'm very good at provoking and confronting, because my goal always for myself and for you is to get you to your highest truth.
Mm-hmm. So you can help people identify it and recognize it and go, oh, so that's what's going on with me.
Yeah. So most people are afraid to say what they really think out of what emotion? Fear.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the outcome of that fear? Rejection. If I told my mom and dad what I really think, I could get thrown out of the family. So when I'm 40 and I go home for Thanksgiving or Christmas and I see my siblings, the same crap that happened in the family when I was 14 is now happening and I'm 47. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So when we're more authentic, when we're more in our truth, we actually give other people permission to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I've done with my students also, I have a process, it's not a part of this class, but it could be, indict your parents.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, indict them. Like seriously, have this discussion with mom and dad, because when you indict them, they actually get a chance to respond. And what comes out of this is a level of forgiveness, a level of empathy, a level of understanding that, yeah, they may have done these things and maybe that's the best they could do.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm more curious. So Dad, tell me about your dad. Tell me about Grandpa. Tell me how you were raised. Tell me what was the environment, what was valued in your family. Most of us never ask these questions. Mm-hmm. So what in your lineage would you not want your children to carry forward? Alcoholism, domestic abuse, sexual abuse, womanizing, because it's that DNA that comes from this lineage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who said to my kids, these are the deceits in my family. No more skeletons, we're not doing that game anymore, and that cuts it off.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity for us. So this idea of really, your parents have never really been asked about their lives, most of them, right? This gives them permission. You actually now get to know these people in a way that's not parent to child. It's actually peer to peer. It's adult to adult now. It's a scary game because they could say, we're done. You have to leave now.
You're out of the will.
And I would say, thank God, because now I actually am who I am.
Yeah.
But if it's done with grace and elegance and goodwill and caring, you'd be shocked at the outcome that comes and the release that happens for these men and women to really step into who they are with acceptance. Yeah.
And I affirm that. I agree with that totally. I know that in talking to a lot of parents, we come from an age back in the Great Depression. Of course, that had some psychological aspects to parents and people that were born and raised in that era, on what their fears are and what their struggles are. A lot of people that came from the Great Depression, they were always worried about happy again and going broke. And then back then, we were kind of a different society too. And then a lot of that emotion was cut off. I mean, even going back even further, people were just trying to survive, and a lot of times just being together or married was more of a survival thing than it was like a convenient thing where you're like, well, I think we should get married and or maybe we shouldn't. And so it seems to me that it's generationally, more and more we're becoming better connected with ourselves and understanding ourselves, where, even with my parents or grandparents, they were just like, just do it and just get through it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you're thinking about it. And then, you have parents that experience alcoholism from their parents, and that's really emotionally damaging and crippling to a child, because they carry it through the rest of their life. And until they resolve these issues, the impact on them is horrendous.
Yeah, exactly. And so, what's interesting is that we call men who are stoic, who aren't emotional, who aren't in their feelings, who aren't embodied, you know what we call them? We call them the greatest generation.
That's true. Yeah.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
They were the greatest generation because they went to war, and what that cost was significant. And so that DNA is within us. And so one of the things that we're going through now with COVID is what I see as this global trauma. We have the global trauma of Nazism. We have the global trauma of genocide in Africa. We have the global trauma of slavery and what we did to Native Americans here. We have the trauma in Australia with the indigenous people and in Brazil, right? And there is this collective consciousness. In point of fact, we are all actually connected. And so there is this opportunity for healing. So one of the things we know from science is that the 5 people closest to you create what they call mirror neurons. Yeah. So if you look at any particular subset of people, you'll see that they all kind of react alike. They all kind of look alike. So I'll give you an example. I live in a communal house with 5 or 6 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I have my own space, but I found that to be really an awesome way of living. Every one of them is at least 50 pounds overweight. Do you know what it takes for me not to be 50 pounds over? It's enormous, because I get invited to dinners and the food's fantastic. And, there's alcohol and there's all this, but that's not who I want to be. And so I modulate. But basically, in a family, the functionality of a family, the family is a system. The government is a system. Our culture is a system, yeah? The whole idea of a system is homeostasis. It's to keep it where it is. I don't know what your politics is, and I don't really care, but if you want to know what's going on in our current political world, it is the rejection of homeostasis and what a system will do to keep it stable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to go into personalities or any of that because it's not even interesting to me. What's interesting to me is to see to what depth the system will go, right? The quote deep state, the quote intelligence agencies, the media, Hollywood, the universities, all of these are a part of our ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is what are each of them doing to keep their space, to keep their sovereignty, to keep their stability and safety. That to me is what's interesting about what's going on now. And what we're seeing is that the more this dissolving is happening, the more intense their anger, their outreach, this is why it's an exciting time.
The systems to be able to keep surviving, keep operating their systems.
Yeah. You're going to see it get a whole lot worse about trying to keep it. Ultimately, it's not going to survive, but it's not going to go down easily. So in a family system, you have a couple of siblings, right? Chris is the good boy. John, therefore, that role is taken. He becomes the bad boy. Julie is the baby of the family, and she becomes needlessly helpless because she's the baby and everybody wants to do everything for her. Dad's the only one that can be angry. Mom is the only one allowed to cry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's 5 roles that I just laid out. To the extent that you can play all of those, that you can at point be the bad guy. At point, you're allowed to be emotional. At a point, you're allowed to swear and say, I'm really angry. That is the degree to which a family is functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, these are all skills that if you have this awareness now, if you have this capability now to recognize moment by moment where you are, what you're feeling in your body, what emotion is catalyzing you, now between stimulus and response, there's a choice. This is the existential principle. You say something to me, I'm offended, I react, I get angry, I come back at you right away, and that just cost me my job because you're my boss and you didn't appreciate me doing that. Yeah? So between stimulus and response, could I just breathe and grab a sense of what's going on with me? What you said is not what triggered me. What triggered me is that what you said happened. If I keep tracking it back to my previous life and experience, I will find where that actually came out of.
Wow.
Right?
That's just amazing.
So now I, instead of being reactive, are intentional. You say something to me and I'm offended, or you hurt I hear this all the time. He hurt my feelings. I'm not in charge of your feelings. You're in charge. I'm in charge of truth to my highest vision, and I'm going to tell my truth. How you choose to interpret it from an Adlerian perspective, that's your task. We have different tasks, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So what I said to you, you're offended, but when I said that to Joe, he just laughed because his wounds aren't where your wounds are. Mm-hmm. So we work with you on what triggers you. Mm-hmm. What triggers you are the disowned parts of yourself.
The disowned parts of yourself. I like that.
Yeah. So how do we know this? Well, one of the movies we all watch as kids is The Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's Dorothy. So Dorothy goes to Auntie M, and Auntie M goes, hey, there's a tornado coming, and I'm busy, and I'm counting chickens, and I'm doing. And Dorothy goes, I'm rejected. I'm hurt. And so she goes into her own mind, and as she goes down the yellow brick road, who does she meet? She meets the Tin Man who doesn't have a heart. Mm-hmm. Guess what? That's the integration of her having a heart of compassion and empathy and understanding. And the lion who doesn't have courage, and she now has courage to walk further into the thing, right? And now she gets to the wizard, and she realizes, I want to go home. And she goes home integrated in her fullness.
Wow.
And so life now is over the rainbow because she's integrated all these disowned parts. Isn't that
No,
beautiful?
that totally went by me in that movie.
Yeah. Well, so
But that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So I'm an English major, so it's either archetypal or it's sexual. So this may be a family show, so we're going to do archetypal.
Okay.
But these are the things that, we look at. So in the hero's journey, right? We know that we sit in this eternal city of slumber. This is us doing the same thing every day. This is us asleep. This is us, in our addiction. This is us just blah. And we know there's more. And then we get the call. So Luke Skywalker with Obi-Wan, I want to be a Jedi. Great. That's the call. So Obi-Wan, what does he say? No problem, dude. I'll do it. What does Luke do? I'm not ready. He refuses the call. We always refuse the call, right? Because it's uncomfortable. It's unknowing. It's uncertain. What could happen? But ultimately, we can't. And so he becomes a Jedi. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So we see this. These are the archetypal patterns of Joseph Campbell in the hero's journey. My goal for all of the folks I work with is that they become the hero of their journey. And it's usually a magnificent ending.
Well, that's what we're looking for too, right?
Right? Isn't it? Self-acceptance. So anyway, that's kind of my thing, and I'm sticking with it. And you can tell I'm passionate. I want the best for people. I'm here to be in service. And I actually think that the world is going to raise its consciousness with us or without. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're going to remain an ordinary, you really are going to get left behind. I don't think we're in a world anymore of linear and incremental. I think we're actually in a circular world of exponential and quantum. We're starting to see that in quantum physics. We're seeing that in quantum computing. And we have a chance to create that quantum experience in our own lives.
It's definitely a time for that because I mean it's a time where people are going to have to redesign their lives. Everything, like you say, a lot of things are being disrupted. A lot of things they're going to be fading out of our lives. A lot of the systems and everything else, they may not survive, and there's going to be new truths and new evidence that comes forth, and new ways that we're going to have to think about things, new paradigms, and there may have to be new ways to redesign our lives. I mean, there's a lot of parents that are having to be teachers now, which is, that's a whole new thing on top of parenting as it is. So when is this going to be going on?
Yep. So it starts September 9th and it goes through November the 25th, I believe. So it's a 12-week program. And if people are interested, like I said, they can either contact me at Dan at 1Insight2Thrive, or they can do the bit.ly/1Insight2Thrive.
There you go. And the link will be on the website and the YouTube video, so you guys can do it there. Anything more we need to know before we go out, Dan?
The only thing is, I hope that I've been inspiring enough that this might be the kind of a life that you want for yourself and for your family, and to deepen relationships and to step into your greatness. So I'm totally committed to working with those of you who want to take the journey.
Definitely. I mean, I feel more cerebrally alive, right? Cerebrally alive. No, just for what we talked about, and inspired, because I mean, you covered so many great topics and so many things I've heard over the years. So thanks to my audience for being here. Thanks to Dan. You've shared a lot of wonderful stuff. Be sure to go to his websites, check him out. Once again, you'll find the links to the chrisvossshow.com. If you want to see the video version of this conversation, go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification button. Further the show to your family, friends, neighbors, relatives. Tell everybody to tune in, the chrisvossshow.com, and all 9 of our podcasts at thecbpn.com or the Chris Voss podcastnetwork.com. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Chris.